Namaskar and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to take a hard look at the very blueprint of our society. We'll be examining its foundations and asking a tough question. Are they built on solid ground or just on superstition?
So let's just jump right in with a pretty provocative thought. What if the big ideas we've built our entire world on, history, religion, even democracy, what if they're all based on a fundamental misunderstanding?
That's exactly what we're digging into today. We're exploring the ideas from the book Prout in a Nutshell, a philosophy that really doesn't pull any punches. It deconstructs our world, trying to clear away all that superstition to build something entirely new.
So where do you even begin with a project that big? Well, you start by questioning the very first thing we learn, the word history itself. What does it actually mean to us?
And wow, there's a huge difference here. In English, we tend to think of history as just a list of dates and events, a chronological record. But the Sanskrit concept of itihasa is so much more profound. It's history with a real purpose, a tool designed to help us grow, a story meant to guide us physically, mentally, and spiritually.
And this really gets to the heart of the argument. When we mistake myths and fiction for that true, instructive history, for itihasa, we're basically planting seeds of superstition. And those seeds, well, they can grow to distort our entire view of society.
Now, this whole idea of superstition isn't just some abstract thing about the past. No, the philosophy takes this very same lens and points it directly at one of society's most rigid and divisive structures, the caste system.
To just completely dismantle this idea of inherited superiority, the philosopher asks this really startling question. I mean, think about it. If you trace our family trees back far enough, don't we all share a common origin? Suddenly, any claim of a divinely ordered social ladder starts to look pretty absurd, right?
What's really fascinating here is how it reinterprets these foundational religious texts. It suggests that the famous shloka from the Rig Veda wasn't meant to be taken literally as a story of creation. Instead, it was an allegory for how society functions. The intellectuals are the mouth, the warriors are the arms. You see? It's about the role you play, not the family you're born into.
And it doesn't stop there either. It goes even deeper, looking at religious rituals themselves. Take the sacred thread, for example. The argument is that it didn't even start as a thread. It was originally a piece of deerskin worn by priests for a very practical reason, to distinguish themselves during rituals. That's it, a simple solution that over centuries hardened into rigid dogma.
Okay, so after tackling these huge social and historical myths, the philosophy turns its attention to something much closer to home for all of us, our modern political structures.
So you might think, okay, but what about democracy? Isn't that the answer? Well, according to this philosophy, not really. It calls it a kind of farce, a puppet show. It gives us the right to vote, which is great, but it snatches away what truly matters, economic justice. The system, it argues, is just too easily hijacked by money and power, ultimately serving capitalist interests, not the people.
So that brings us to a huge turning point, doesn't it? If the systems we have are fundamentally broken, what's the alternative? Where do we even begin to build something better?
And this is where things get really constructive. The philosophy shifts gears from tearing things down to building something up. It proposes a pretty radical new system it calls economic democracy.
So what is it? Well, at its core, it's a massive power shift. It's about taking economic control away from big, centralized corporations or governments and putting it right into the hands of local people. And the number one goal? Making sure that every single person has their basic needs met. Period.
And to make that happen, it lays out 4 key requirements. First, guarantee the basics for everyone. Second, make sure people's ability to buy what they need is always growing. And third and fourth, and this is crucial, put economic decision-making power in local hands and protect them from outside interference.
And this right here, this is a total flip in how we think about the economy. Our current system is built to produce for one thing, profit. This new decentralized model would produce for consumption, meaning we make what our communities actually need, not just whatever makes the most money for a handful of people.
Okay, but how do you actually do that? How does it work on the ground? The answer is pretty straightforward. Cooperatives. They become the engine of this new economy. Your farms, your factories, your local shops, they're all managed by and for the people who live there, making sure the wealth they create actually stays in their community.
All right, so we've got a whole new economic system, a new social outlook, but what's the ultimate point of all this? Where's this all heading? Because the goal here is so much bigger than just material prosperity.
See, here's the real endgame. Economic security isn't the finish line. It's just the starting block. It's the foundation you have to lay first. Because once people are free from that constant, grinding struggle for survival, they finally have the time, the energy, and the freedom to pursue their own mental and spiritual growth. And all of this leads to this really profound, beautiful, unifying vision that's at the very heart of the philosophy. A vision that just melts away all these artificial divisions and reminds us what we all share.
And that's the powerful question this philosophy leaves us with. It's something to really reflect on. What would our world actually look like? What would it take to build a society where taking care of everyone's basic needs is our absolute highest priority?
If these ideas gave you something to chew on, something to think about, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Thanks so much for joining me.